Hello, everyone, and welcome to the March 10th, late Thursday night, 2016, episode number 56 of Balls Deep Sports Talk. I am your host with the almost, the one and only Scotty Ball. Thank you for finding your way to the program this week, whether it be via my personal favorite, the Spreaker app, or SoundCloud, or YouTube, and in the very near future, we will have a new and improved WNLMradio.com, which will now be Great Lakes Radio.com. I believe GLRadio.com will be the call signal for that. I will get you that information here within the next couple of weeks as it is all finalized. We're very excited to be having our internet radio station home back up and running once again. And in the event that you were to desire an even deeper Balls Deep experience, the best way to do that, I recommend at least, is to like and friend me on Facebook. Simply search Scotty-Ball. And then also if you're on Twitter, which I am a fairly decent amount, follow the show on Twitter at BDST Show. And on both of those platforms, I try to do the best I can of reposting and retweeting current sports news that we may or may not have time to discuss on any particular week's show. And one final plug here before we get to our outline of what's on this week's big show. If you are a Vikings fan or know anyone who is a Vikings fan, please go to yourself or direct your friends to VikingsDigitalDiaries.com, and you can follow them on Twitter at Vikings Diaries, or like and friend them on Facebook by searching Vikings Digital Diaries. I, about a month ago, approximately, started working for them doing a weekly interview with former Minnesota Vikings players, and I am having an absolute blast doing it, and every week it's just a fun new experience. And this current week here, we had guest former Viking safety and special team standout Eric Frampton join us, and he gave an absolutely fantastic interview. So again, go to VikingsDigitalDiaries.com anytime in the near future and check that out. And while you're there, scroll down the page a ways and check out any of my past interviews of the last month and a half that you may have missed, including such former members as Bernard Berrien, Matthew Hatchett, Bobby Felder, and Troy Williamson. So a lot of great content up on there and more to come every week. Please check that out and tell your friends about it as well. All right, well, that should do it for the plugs here. Let us get into the overview of what we're going to have on tonight's show. Now, I don't know if you're noticing this so far, if you're a regular listener or not, but we've got a fairly decent pace established here on the show tonight, at least so far, in my opinion. Granted, we're only 3 minutes into the show. That'll change here by the time we hit the 10-minute mark, probably. But we're going to try and keep this week's show especially to a much more concise, compact, 60 to 90-minute episode is what we're shooting for here. We're not even going to try to flirt with that 2-hour mark, which we tend to find ourselves just a little bit over. Because, I don't know if it's time of year. I don't know if it's just because I'm trying to do a million things for a million people all at the same one time. But I am tired off my keister, and there's not enough time in my life for everything I'm trying to do. But I really, really enjoy talking sports with you, my loyal listeners, every week. And so I'm going to continue to make a point to do it. But like I said, at least this week, we're going to try and keep it a little smaller running time, shooting for 60 to 90 minutes. Well, what are we going to talk about in that 60, 90 minutes? Scotty Ball, you might be asking. Well, we've got plenty to discuss, as always. Not sure how many topics we'll get in, but we'll try and at least hit all the big ones and all the big talking points on those topics as well. Well, first off, we're going to have, much to my delight and hopefully yours as well, we've got plenty of football back on the show this week as NFL free agency kicked off here earlier this week. All kinds of releases, all kinds of re-signings, all kinds of new signings, players changing teams, and several trades even happening, as a matter of fact, including big-name players on the move. So there is tons of NFL football to discuss. We'll check in, of course, with where the Vikings fit in with all of this, as well as the big news in the league. And we will also discuss the retirement of one Peyton Manning, who, since the last time we talked sports a week ago, announced that he is officially retiring from the sport of football after 18 years. Watched his emotional, tear-filled press conference speech farewell, and it was fantastic. Whatever you think about the guy, well, you'll hear my thoughts on the guy and his career at some point in the show. We'll also be discussing baseball as we're in the, about 2 weeks here now into spring training. Twins have had several games under their belt. We got some home runs from some new additions, so we will be talking Twins spring training baseball. You have been warned. And also a little bit of league news regarding an uplifted, I don't know, is that the word that I should be using there? Uplifted? Well, it was a suspension that was handed down a while back and now has been removed and won't be enforced. So we do have some baseball news to discuss. We will be talking, of course, NHL hockey and NBA basketball, as we are in the final month and a half of those seasons where teams are making their final big playoff pushes. So we'll check in with my and possibly your Minnesota Wild, take a quick look around the hockey league, as well as a look into my and possibly your lowly Minnesota Timberwolves, and a quick glance around the NBA. We've also got a little bit of college basketball to discuss. The Gophers men's basketball season is officially over, and the conference tournaments for the Big Ten and all the other conferences are still well underway. Was watching some second round action of the Big Ten conference tournament here earlier this evening, as a matter of fact. So we'll try to take a peek in at college basketball and like I said, keep trying to get prepared here a little more every week for what teams we should be looking at and liking when we're filling out our March Madness brackets here coming up very shortly from now. We've also got a little bit of tennis news. That's right, news in the world of tennis regarding a big-named female superstar and a failed drug test. Ooh! So we'll definitely be talking about that. We'll probably talk just a little bit of WWE as we usually do. However, I'm a little, I don't know. I'm not. There's nothing really, revving my engine in the world of pro wrestling at the current time, with the weekly Wednesday exception of Lucha Underground. Lucha. But so we'll take a quick peek into the world of pro wrestling, whether you're a fan or not. I am, so tough. And then, of course, we will recap the craziness that was this past Saturday's UF 96, where both heavily favored champions in the main event title fights both lost their belts, and we have new champions in the UFC. So plenty of mixed martial arts news to discuss as well. That's those are all the main goals that we got to talk about on tonight's show. A couple other minor topics that we may work in, but yeah, I don't want to get your hopes up. So let's just shoot for what I said there, and we'll see where that leaves us. All right. Well, if you're a regular listener, you know now whether you partake in the Balls Deep at home drinking game or the Balls Deep at home gambling game, either or both. Whether you partake or not, you would know that it is now time to place your wagers on what you think the honorary topic for our hit opening segment on our show will be this week. And we've got a couple worthy options here. Not, some weeks we've got quite a few to pick from, but this week it's pretty much there's two. It's one or the other. I got two choices, so there you go. I narrowed it down. There's two heavy favorites, and if you're even loosely, you don't need to get this exactly right to win. You just kind of need to loosely have it identified. But I don't know. Let's see. This week we're going... All right, I got it. Here we go. It is time for our hit opening segment. Say it with me. 3, 2, 1. Balls on fire. That's right. What's got me, yours truly, Scotty Ball, the most fired up, the most on fire, the most heated up sports-related topic for yours truly. And this week, that honor goes to the NFL. That's right. Football is back in full force this week, baby. Woo-hoo-hoo. Man, we got, like I said, we got trades. Like, we never get trades in the NFL, and if we do get a trade, it's usually, it's a couple mid to late round draft picks swapping back and forth and things like that. And, never anything juicy. Well, we had a team out east in just a full-on clearance sale mode when it came to trades here before free agency started a couple days ago. That being the Philadelphia Eagles. Huge activity as well for other teams, including Houston, Miami. There's all kinds of stuff. Hopefully, for sure, Minnesota Vikings actually being fairly active in all elements of the offseason. They haven't necessarily made any trades, but they've had some big name, big decision releases that they've let go. They've actually went out and spent a large amount of money to bring in a new person via free agency to help this team out. We spent quite a bit of money already keeping players that could potentially leave here as well. So lots of Vikings news to discuss. All in all, NFL football has got me the most fired up this week because as hopefully you've gathered this about me by now, I am a complete geek when it comes to football. Not just I'm a former player, first off, not in the NFL or anything like that, but I had a, modest amount of success and experience playing the game of football to some extent. And so don't get me wrong, I do appreciate all the physical elements and athleticism and everything that the players do. Absolutely. But people who know me really well know that I'm a very, constantly thinking, can't shut my brain off, both sides of the coin, deep thoughts, constantly, debating with myself in my head from both perspectives, or opposite perspectives, I should say, on a particular topic. That's me. So when it gets to this time of the NFL season where we've got teams deciding to re-sign guys, teams deciding to let go of guys, teams deciding to which new guys to bring in, where should we look to get veteran help, and where should we look to get youth and develop people at, oh man, that is my absolute favorite. That's my cup of tea. It's fantasy football season right now in the actual NFL. There you go. That's the best way I could put it. Right now is the closest thing we have to watching the real NFL play fantasy football. And as a diehard football fan, I freaking love it. There's, anytime I see a decision that I think is great, anytime I see a decision that I think is completely stupid, either way, it's interesting, it's entertaining, and I'm totally caught up in it right now. So what I'm going to try to do here, for this football talking segment is we're not going to go super in depth with what I think necessarily about every move, but I am going to try and give you as many or as close to all of the moves for both my and possibly your favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings, as well as the rest of the NFL here. It's mostly going to be a news-oriented segment where I want to get you names and teams, and information that you might not have. And I promise you, there's going to be people I leave out. Okay, I'm not going to literally go through the list of every single signing or release that has happened in the entire NFL. I'm not going to do that, but all of the ones that I think in some way change the makeup of the team players are going to or the team players are leaving, things of that nature. We're going to try and get as many of those into this show as we can. So yeah, that might be a pretty big, daunting task. But hey, there's no challenge that is too big for us to at least attempt to overcome.